So, by virtue of Iran following a policy of militarizing citizens of neighboring countries, it was understandable that at some point in time in the future, the question of Iran's own treatment of groups of population, minorities, ethnic and linguistic groups within Iran. Due to some events today, but I went through some 2 or 3 very interesting pictures. I saw a picture of the Shah of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, sitting in a very relaxed moment with the rulers of the Gulf states, and the picture was somewhere in the 1960s. Coincidentally, Shah Reza Pahlavi was in Riyadh. He was sitting with the former king of Saudi Arabia. He had a couple of other emirs from other Gulf states as well. And it was a very informal sitting. The picture was not a formal picture. I'm sure it was not released formally by any government at that time. It's now available, of course, online. I was just examining the lack of tension, how unique that picture looks now, considering the current conditions. I remind you of one more thing, one more very interesting picture. The second wife, I think, if my information is not correct, the second wife of Reza Pahlavi was an Egyptian princess from the Egyptian ruling family, the younger sister of King Farouk of Egypt. And again, when I read the story of how the emperor, the Shah of Iran, reached out to a king of an Arab country, despite cultural, linguistic differences, despite the usual talk about Arab-Persian competition, despite the fact that the ruling family of Iran were Shia Muslims and the ruling family of Egypt were Sunni Muslims. All of these things never came in the way, and the ruling family of Iran reached out to the ruling family of Egypt, and they were united in this through this marriage. These quick examples and pictures that I saw basically tells you one thing. It tells you that before 1979, Iran actually was, the Iranian government was actually quite good at reaching out beyond these divisions of language and ethnicity and sect and religion. And they managed to integrate the various ethnicities and the various linguistic groups in Iran. The divisions became sharper after 1979. They are the sharpest today. There is no question that if the government of Iran is going to recruit citizens of other countries, specifically neighboring countries, militarize those citizens, and then use them for strategic adventures, such as the one in Syria and elsewhere, it is inevitable that at some point other countries, other interest groups would seize the opportunity to exploit Iran's own very serious internal divisions. I would just conclude by saying it's very important to remember that during the monarchy in Iran, Iranian people, the government succeeded in integrating the people to a great extent. It reached out to its neighbors, all of them, without considering ethnicity, culture, sect, religion. But after 1979, not only the government of Iran militarized segments of the population of neighboring countries, but this policy is now coming back to haunt Iran itself. And that's why we're sitting here today discussing the question of the violations of the ethnic and linguistic groups in Iran. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much for this fabulous introduction to political dimensions of the situation in Iran and interethnic and interreligious interaction. And let me just remind you that under international law, who are the minorities? They are under protection of the international law, and the government of Iran is committed to uphold those provisions, starting with the Universal Declaration on Human Rights and ICCPR and ICSR, the Bill of Rights. And when we look at international law, the minorities are adopted by the consensus in 1992 by all the UN member states. Minorities Declaration, United Nations Minority Declaration states that minorities, as based on national or ethnic, cultural, religious, and linguistic identity, and provides that states should protect their existence. So therefore, we are discussing today that their rights, when their rights are violated, it's the responsibility of the state to make sure that they are protected and ensure respect for the rights of minority groups. Now let me pass the floor to our another colleague, Dirk Andriensens, Executive Committee of Brussels Tribunal. Dirk, please.
Good evening. It's already evening. I would like to focus on a bit the broader issue of Iran, because it's a very important subject within especially the progressive community. Iran is considered to be a progressive anti-imperialist country. Now, they play sort of double role, because in Iraq they have cooperated with the Americans. They have cooperated with the occupation. The Badr brigades and Mehdi army was integrated in the national police. That was the death squads of that were organized by the United States. So I find it difficult to explain that there is a general situation, geopolitical situation, where the United States is the most important enemy. But on the other hand, the Iraqis feel the heavy hand of Iranian intervention in their country. And I would like to say to those who think we cannot say anything about Iran because America is the main enemy, we'd like to start with what Stratfor said. It's a think tank, an American think tank, and they say the American strategy is fixed. Allow powers in the region to compete and balance against each other. When that fails, intervene with as little force and risk as possible. For example, the conflict between Iran and Iraq cancelled out two rising powers until the war ended. Then Iraq invaded Kuwait and threatened to overturn the balance of power in the region, and the result was Desert Storm. This strategy provides a model. In the Syria-Iraq region, the initial strategy is to allow the regional powers to balance each other. So, on the one hand, you have the USA, who's playing divide and rule in the region and try to cause as much animosity as possible. And on the other hand, Iran is also under attack from the Americans. If we look a little closer to the role of Iran in the region, we have to, I wanted to go to something that was said by I'm sorry, I have to find it, but it's an important Mohammed Ali Abtahi, Iran's deputy chairman for legal and parliamentary affairs, stated that the fall of Kabul and Baghdad would not have been easy without Iran's assistance. In doing so, he addressed the role of Iranian militias and intelligence services in Iraq and Afghanistan. And the result of that is that the Iranian threat is now imminent, and most of all, pro-American authoritarian regimes in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan have helped to achieve that. Another thing about Iran being a so-called anti-imperialist country is, if we go back to 1979, Khomeini launched the slogan, "The road to Jerusalem goes through Baghdad." So that was a clear message to Saddam Hussein and the Iraqi government that Khomeini would be a very aggressive player in the region. He called on the Shiites, as what Mr. Qureshi said, he called on the Shia to conduct a holy war against all these heretic people, like Saddam Hussein was one. You must remember that during the Shah, there was a connection between the Israeli defense forces and the intelligence services and the Iranian intelligence services and defense forces. These contacts continued after 1979, even though Mr. Khomeini said that all connections with Israel and diplomatic connections would be broken. That didn't happen, and more so, Iran delivered weapons during the Iran-Iraq war through to Iran through Israel, because you know the Phantoms airplanes were from America, from the United States, and the government in Baghdad thought that since America had not so good relationships with the new regime of the mullahs, that they would not be able to replace their weaponry. But they did through Israel. They obtained weapons, they obtained intelligence, and so it is a bit strange how Iran is being regarded as an anti-imperialist country. Of course, we have to look at the primary contradiction, but the second contradiction is also important, because that could become very, very important and a primary contradiction in the future. There's a lot more to say about the role of Iran in the region, but I think Mr. Qureshi also said a lot, and I'm finishing my intervention here.
Thank you very much, Dirk. I have to apologize on behalf of our two speakers. I'm afraid we are having some delays due to new registration system at UNOC, and if they don't participate, we will just finalize as planned at 4:30. And now let me pass the floor to Dr. Karen Parker, International Educational Project. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Gulnaz. It's an honor to be here. I've participated in many forums about the situation in Iran, and I am pleased to speak today. The original title was Violations on Non-Farsi People in Iran. I will talk about the Kurdish population in Iran, who have been subjected to extreme violations of human rights for many, many years. In particular, Iran has participated in the execution of many, many Kurdish. In 8 months, there have been more than 53 Kurds executed, higher than previously announced, because the family members are kept under surveillance and are not allowed to report. But in July and August in 2017, more than 40 Kurdish people were executed in Iran. Among the Kurds who were executed, 3 women have been killed with their husbands, and another had been executed with his daughter. Lokman and Zanir Moradi and Kamal Hussein Ramadan are now in danger because they are on deck for being executed. There are many Irani Kurds in jail. They have been in jail for many, many years. Some have written letters to the previous special rapporteurs for Iran, including Ahmed Shahid and Asma Jahangir. Ahmed Shahid did actually take up the situation of Irani Kurds. Previous rapporteurs had not in particular, but he did. Unfortunately, he was unable to stop the attacks on the Kurdish population in Iran. Asma Jahangir was just named the special rapporteur for Iran. She's very new. We expect her to also take up the situation of the Kurdish population. She has taken up the situation of the massacre of the opposition people, the PMOI, in Iran that occurred in 1988. So we expect she will take a broader picture, broader role in addressing the human rights situation in Iran. In June 2017, there has been a new phase of arrests and execution in Kurdistan and also in Baluchistan and Al-Ahraz. More than 800 Kurdish people in Iranian Kurdistan have now been arrested. This is a crisis situation. There is also the problem that the Irani government, I don't know quite how to say it, but they focus on the drug trade, and they are carrying out a policy of providing Kurdish Irani youth with drugs. And so there is a huge increase in the number of drug addictions of Kurdish youth in Irani Kurdistan. There are also trans-border incidences where people coming from other countries come into Kurdistan of Iran, and the government interferes or doesn't interfere depending on their usefulness as far as drugging the Irani Kurdish youth. My time is up? No, okay, okay. 5 Kurdish civilian people have been killed in the last 2 months because of implications that they helped in the trafficking of the goods. So the Irani government is playing a very negative game in Irani Kurdistan against the Irani Kurdish population. There have also been Kurdish student activists killed this year alone, and the human rights situation in Irani Kurdistan and Baluchistan and Al-Wazat is getting worse day to day. And Rouhani's period has not changed this at all. It has maintained, the Irani regime has maintained its pressure on the Irani population. The mother tongue is forbidden. There's the press. There's no freedom of association. Every human rights violation that one can conceive of is taking place in Irani Kurdistan, but in fact the most serious situation remains the numbers of executions. I hope that this seminar revitalizes people here to pressure the new human rights special rapporteur for Iran so that she will take up the issue of the executions and other violations of the human rights of the Kurdish population in Irani Kurdistan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Parker, for this nice overview on the situation of Kurdish minority in Iran. Indeed, when it comes to death penalty, Iran ranks among the top executioner countries around the world. And unfortunately, the charges for the execution, drug charges, which does not meet the threshold of the most serious crimes under international law. Moreover, Iran government continues to disregard the prohibition and execute juvenile offenders, which is a clear violation of international law provisions. Now I will pass the floor to our last speaker, and we will take questions after that. Mr. Fayez Soleimani is from Ahvaz Organization for the Defense of Human Rights.
أصحاب السعادة، نحن في المنظمة الأحوازية للدفاع عن حقوق الإنسان نرى أن من واجبنا أن نلفت انتباهكم إلى أوضاع حقوق الإنسان في إقليم الأحواز العربي والأقاليم التابعة للشعوب غير الفارسية في عموم إيران، عاملين أن تسهم جهودنا في إيصال معاناة شعبنا والشعوب الغير الفارسية في ظل استبداد الدولة الإيرانية إلى مسامع كل المنظمات والهيئات المعنية بالشأن الإنساني في العالم. وعليه فإننا نؤكد أولا بأن تجاوزات الدولة الإيرانية في انتهاك حقوق الإنسان في شتى مناحي الحياة وبصورة ممنهجة في الأحواز وباقي المناطق التي نعمل على تغطيتها أكبر من أن نحيط بها بإمكانياتنا التي لا تتناسب وحجم هذه الانتهاكات. ولكننا على قناعة بأن النظر يسير من جرائم هذه الدولة كافي لتحريك الضمير الإنساني في العالم للاهتمام بأوضاع ضحايا تجاوزات السلطات الإيرانية في هدر الحقوق المقدسة للإنسان على نطاق واسع في داخل الدولة الإيرانية. ومن المفارقات التي تدعو إلى الحيرة هو أن هذه التجاوزات زادت وتيرتها واتسعت رقعتها بعد الاتفاق النووي الإيراني بين الدولة الإيرانية والمجتمع الدولي، وكأن الاتفاق جاء ليطلق يد إيران في ارتكاب المزيد من الجرائم ويعطيها الحصانة من أي مسائلة عن جرائمها. ولم يدرك المتضررون من الدولة الإيرانية ونحن معهم بأن الاتفاق المشؤوم يتضمن إعطاء الضوء الأخضر لهذه الدولة في انتهاك حقوق الإنسان كما تشاء في عموم جغرافيتها وخاصة في إقليم الأحواز العربي. فبدلا من تقوم إيران مع مرور الزمن بتحسين سجلها الأسود في مجال حقوق الإنسان وخاصة حقوق المحتقلين السياسيين في سجونها، نجدها وقد توسعت انتهاكاتها بحقهم. وعلى سبيل المثال لا الحصر، أصدرت مؤخرا محاكم إيران حكم الإعدام ضد ناشطين 2 من أبناء الأحواز في 31 أغسطس لهذا العام، أي قبل 19 يوما، وهما عبد الله عباس وقاسم عبيد من أهالي مدينة شاور في جنوب الأحواز، بعد خطفهما في 21 أكتوبر لعام 2015. ومنذ الاعتقال حتى صدور الحكم لم يسمح لعوائلهما بالزيارة، بل لم يسمح لهما بحق تعيين محامين للدفاع عنهم قانونيا، لا لجرم ارتكباه، وإنما لإصرارهما على النشاط ومواجهة إيران سلميا دفاعا عن الحقوق المدنية والاجتماعية والسياسية للشعب العربي الأحوازي. وهذا هو نهج إيران في بسط سيطرتها على الأحوازيين والشعوب غير الفارسية، يتجلى في الحرمان من الحقوق السياسية والتضييق عليهم أمنيا واقتصاديا وقانونيا. واكتظت سجون إيران بكل فئات الشعب الذين قاوموا الظلم ونادوا بالحقوق: صحفيين، سياسيين، طلاب، عمال، فلاحين، نساء، شيوخ، أطفال، بأساليب مروعة: اختطاف بدل توجيه مذكرة احتقال، عدم الإفصاح عن مصير المحتقلين قبل صدور الأحكام، نزع الاحترافات بالتعذيب، والحرمان من حق تعيين المحامين إلا في حالات نادرة. الحضور الكريم، ننقل لكم جزء من الرسالة الصوتية للأسير أو السجين السياسي الأحوازي ماهر الكعبي من السجن المركزي في محافظة أردبيل شمال إيران، والتي نشرت في 24 أغسطس من هذا العام، أي قبل 26 يوما. وهو يطالب باسمه وباسم زملائه الأسرى الأحوازيين في المحتقلات الإيرانية من منظمة الأمم المتحدة والمجلس العالمي لحقوق الإنسان والاتحاد الأوروبي ومن كل المنظمات المعنية بحقوق الإنسان في العالم بالتضامن معهم لرفع الظلم عنهم كمحتقلين وتمكينهم من التمتع بحقهم في العدالة. وكما يؤكد على حق الطبيعي لشعبه في المطالبة بحقوقه سلميا، مناشدا المسؤولة الأممية المعنية بحقوق الإنسان في إيران السيدة عاصمة جهانغير بالضغط على الحكومة الإيرانية لفتح التحقيق المحايد في عمليات التعذيب والانتهاكات التي تتم بحق السجناء السياسيين داخل سجون الدولة الإيرانية، وخاصة المباعدين من ديارهم، والعمل على منحهم حقهم في المحاكمات العادلة. وعلمنا أن المخابرات الإيرانية تخضع الأسير ماهر الكعبي لتحقيق قاسي عقابا له على رسالته الصوتية التي وجهها إليكم وإلى كل المعنيين بقضايا حقوق الإنسان. وإن محكمة الثورة الإيرانية سوف تنظر في نتائج هذه التحقيقات كقضية منفصلة عن قضيته الأولى. وبما أن الرسالة قد وصلت، فهو على يقين بأنكم جميعا لن تهملوا قضيته وقضية زملائه في المحتقلات الإيرانية، وهذا يتطلب منكم الإسراع في الكشف عن مصيره أولا كمدخل لفتح ملف المحتقلين الأحوازيين وتوفير العدالة لهم. السادة السيدات، انتهاكات إيران لم تنتهي عند المحكومين بالإعدام والأسرى أي السجناء السياسيين فقط، وإنما شملت كل مناحي الحياة للمواطنين، كالتعليم الذي تؤكد عليه القوانين والمواثيق الدولية، ومنها ميثاق الأمم المتحدة واليونسكو التي تلزم الدول بحماية وصون هذا الحق الذي يعد من حقوق الإنسان الأساسية. فهو مستهدف وبشكل ممنهج في الأحواز، وذلك في إطار سياسة نشر الأمية وتجهيل الشعب التي تحتمتها إيران منذ عقود. وكمثال على ذلك، قامت إيران في 12 سبتمبر لهذا العام، أي قبل 7 أيام، بتحويل مدرسة تعرف بمدرسة فتح الابتدائية في حي الثورة في قرب الأحواز العاصمة إلى مركز أمني مخابراتي. وتعتبر هذه المدرسة من المدارس القلائل في هذا الحي العربي المكتظ بالسكان. الحضور الكرام، يضاف إلى أن الانتهاكات التي أشرت إليها بشكل موجز جريمة الأضرار بالبيئة، فأقليم الأحواز الذي تجري فيه 5 أنهر رئيسية للمياه بات يعاني من شح المياه في السنوات القليلة الماضية حتى الآن نتيجة تحويل مسار هذه الأنهر لمناطق ومحافظات إيرانية خارج الأحواز لأغراض سياسية واقتصادية. نتج عن هذه السياسة العدائية الأضرار بالإقطاع الزراعي أضرارا بليغة، فهذا القطاع الذي يعتمد عليه السواد الأعظم من أهل الأحواز أصبح هدفا لمعاقبة الشعب الأحوازي، الأمر الذي بات يهدد بكوارث اقتصادية واجتماعية وبيئية، هذا بالإضافة إلى حالة البطالة الدائمة بين الأحوازيين لانعدام فرص العمل في الدوائر والشركات والمصانع على امتداد الأحواز نتيجة لاتباع سياسة الفصل العنصري المحتمدة لدى المسؤولين الإيرانيين في الأحواز. ومن المخاطر التي تهدد إقليم الأحواز نتيجة العبث التي تمارسه الدولة الإيرانية بالبيئة خطر التصحر والعواصف الترابية، الهجرة من الأرياف إلى المدن وإلى خارج الأحواز بعدما منعوا من الزراعة بذريعة شح المياه. ووفقا للإحصائيات التي نشرت من بعض الدوائر الإيرانية فإن 30,000 مواطن أحوازي هاجروا من قرى مدينة الفلاحية جنوب الأحواز خلال 5 سنوات فقط، وهذا المثال ينطبق على قرى وأرياف المدن الأحوازية الأخرى، وبذلك تكون إيران قد انتهجت سياسة التهجير القسري والتطهير العرقي في الأحواز. السيدات والسادة الحضور، الانتهاكات التي أشرت إليها هنا بعجالة قد لا تشكل 5% من مجمل انتهاكات إيران لحقوق الإنسان في الأحواز، والتي تعاني منها الشعوب غير الفارسية أيضا على امتداد إيران.
Perpetrated against other ethnic and linguistic groups. Each group suffers varying kinds of mistreatment and blockade. These communities call for the right to self-determination, the right to establish non-governmental organization, the right to establish political parties, the right to education in mother tongue, the right to follow their religion of choice, and other rights. As such, we hope that this session of the HCR will adopt a very strong language declaration against Iran, claiming the re-establishment of the rights of the Ahwazi people and other ethnic people, also to order the visit to prisons and to review the situation of all those who have been sentenced to death or who have received unfair sentences. Moreover, we believe that they should study the heinous and very serious situation in Ahwaz. Anyone who studies the human rights situation in Ahwaz would realize that the situation cannot improve unless they have autonomy, and that the occupation of their land by Iran should come to an end. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that voice from the ground. We appreciate a lot your presence today and sharing this information with us. We have 5 minutes left for questions. I'm really sorry about it. But before that, I would like to draw your attention to the report of the Geneva International Center for Justice on Human Rights Violations in Iran. We will be distributing it now. And we can also find it online on the web page of the GICJ. Now, please, if you have questions to speakers, first questions, please, gentlemen, backwards, 2, start 1, 2.
First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers, and I thank the speakers. In fact, the violations against the Ahwaz population are not something strange for the Iranian terrorism. But the problem is that these violations that are perpetrated against the Ahwaz people is under the occupation of Iran to the Ahwaz territories and the torture and the execution. We do not hear any voice from international NGOs in relation to these violations. These violations are grave and extreme. What Iran is doing against the Ahwaz people is the same as done by the Iranian militias against Arabs in Syria, Iraq, and in Yemen. On the issue of imperialism, as the Dr. Drake said, this is a big lie that Iran is doing. Actually, they do not have animosity against the West. Khomeini said that the road to Jerusalem goes through Baghdad, and then after him, people in Iran came and they said that it goes through Damascus and Homs and Sana'a and Aden in order to destroy the Arab region. And they managed actually through their militias to destroy the Arab region and to fracture it because of these fake slogans. Before I conclude with a question, I'd like to confirm here that there is very strong relationship between ISIS, Iran, and Hezbollah. ISIS is the true face of Hezbollah, or the second face of it. They are one coin that was minted by Iran, and everyone knows what happened in Syria and Lebanon recently. We have seen a month ago what happened in Lebanon, the agreement between ISIS and Hezbollah, and how they managed to have an agreement that has become declared now. It was secret before. The question that raises itself, why international organizations are silent towards the terrorism of Iran against the Ahwaz population, and why international human rights groups are silent about the role of Iran in creating these terrorist organizations such as ISIS and others, and why there is international collusion with Iran to allow it to practice terror in the Arab region.
To respond? I think we can take only this question. I'm afraid I've been reminded that we have to close and we leave the room in 2 minutes. So if any of the speakers
Just
would...
very quickly.
Yes, please.
I'll answer in English. You're basically asking why and how, why the Iranian government is not criticized internationally for its violations. I would just answer by saying you have to take into consideration that the Iranian clergymen, the men of religion, the ayatollahs, are probably the smartest mullahs ever. They have, they've created their network through their diplomacy, despite being very anti-American, as Derek just mentioned. They also cooperated with the Americans in Afghanistan and Iraq and elsewhere. They're very smart in this. So you need to commend them, actually, by the way they manage their international relations, and they've maintained relationships that have and they were able to dodge any kind of scrutiny into their record, which is horrendous, basically. But they did it, and they succeeded. And I often speak to, for example, people who are close to the Taliban in Afghanistan and other extremist and religious groups, and these groups did not succeed, but the religious group, the extremist movement that was launched by Imam Khomeini, succeeded not only in establishing a state and a government, but continuing for almost 40 years. It's a success, and managing the diplomatic relations very successfully. Thank you.
I think on that concluding remark, we will finish the event. Thank you very much for your participation. If you have more questions, maybe you can approach the speakers in person. Thank you for your attendance.